Hello and welcome back to the Data Privacy Lawyer. Today's review, we're going to be looking at a URL webpage that is being offered by Apple related to the use of artificial intelligence. So this document exists in the legal section for Apple. It talks about Apple intelligence and privacy, right? Because at the Data Privacy Lawyer, we look at privacy, we look at protecting personal data based on a company's obligations under the data protection laws. So Apple Intelligence is a system of generative AI features that are specialized to help you with your everyday tasks. Okay, so the first thing that I can see here is, what does Apple consider to be everyday tasks? I'm sure they have a list internally, but whatever the everyday tasks are that are offered by Apple Intelligence, there needs to be a transparency component if it's going to process personal information. I'm just going to scroll to the bottom. This was published September 15, 2025. The reason why I really want to look at these AI documentations is because they are no different from the privacy policies, privacy notices that are generally displayed on an organization's webpage, right? Now, what I mean by this is, what Apple is representing to you as a consumer is that this is how they process your personal information, okay? Same with the privacy notice. The data protection laws require companies to be transparent about how they process personal information, which is why in today's day and age, it's going to be unlikely for you to encounter a company's website that does not have a privacy notice, okay? So if I was drafting this, I would ask what constitutes everyday tasks to ensure that we've captured every type of personal data that could be included in the use of this Apple Intelligence. Apple Intelligence can help you rewrite or proofread your emails. So we already know at least there's going to be an email address or notes. Now, depending on what the consumer puts in their notes, there might be personal data included here. Summarize your missed messages. Now, I don't know if this is iMessages, but there's probably a phone number. Create custom memories and photos, so we know there's non-biometric photos. Generate images and more. Now, what more constitutes? This could be something that's ever evolving. This Apple Intelligence and Privacy Notice was drafted in September. So as and when these tasks include more, I presume that Apple is going to continue to evolve the provisions that it is presenting to its consumers. I don't know where Apple Intelligence is being used in which product. Might be the iPad, iPhone, or watch. But there's definitely different process flows associated with using each of these products. So I'm presuming that those have been discussed in this notice. To provide, Apple Intelligence is designed to deliver personal intelligence without Apple collecting your personal data. This is so interesting, right? This is very, very interesting. I am intrigued from a privacy perspective on how Apple Intelligence is delivering the intelligence without collecting personal data, okay? To provide a customized experience, Apple Intelligence uses information on your device, including across your apps, like upcoming calendar events and your frequently used apps. Apple Intelligence identifies the data necessary to provide to best assist you without requiring access to or storage of the data by Apple. So my question would be, how is Apple Intelligence helping you to generate images, and what type of images are being generated without collecting your personal information? Now, this is definitely something that I would explore, and it includes the look at different internal documentations with Apple. That's something that only their privacy counsel will have access to, but it's really important for businesses to understand, if you are making representations on your website, it is something that must be happening. And you can definitely be assured that this particular sentence that has been drafted is not something that Apple has drafted lightly, because they understand that a regulatory body is going to be very interested in how our Apple Intelligence allows or has been designed to deliver this intelligence without collecting your personal information. Companies should be very careful about what they draft on their website and how their services overlap with personal data, because what you're telling your consumers is how you use their personal information, which is your obligation as a controller, which Apple is, right? And a controller basically just means the party or entity that determines the means and purpose of processing, okay? When possible, Apple Intelligence models run entirely on device so that a task can be completed without data leaving your device. For example, when Apple Intelligence provides you with preview summaries of your emails, messages, and notifications, these summaries are generated by on-device models. Now, I really like this as a provision, and I think a lot more organizations should take note. I like this provision because I think it identifies the type of consumer that would be reading this. Apple has done a very good job in making sure that it's simple enough for most consumers of an Apple product to be able to understand what's going on. Now, what we oftentimes see as privacy counsel is whatever notice has been drafted on a website has been drafted for other lawyers to read, and most consumers would not be able to understand exactly what's going on. I think that this is simple enough for most consumers to be able to understand. And I think that's a really important component of addressing your audience as a company, because you're not addressing other lawyers, you're addressing people that use Apple products. There are times, however, when Apple Intelligence needs to leverage a model that requires more computational power than your device can provide on its own. For those tasks, Apple Intelligence sends your request to private cloud compute. Then they give a definition of what constitutes private cloud compute, okay? When you initiate an Apple Intelligence task, a model running on your device analyzes whether the task can be completed on device. If a larger server-based model is required, Apple Intelligence uses private cloud compute to send only data relevant to your request to be processed on Apple Silicon servers. Okay, you can turn on transparency, and we talk a lot about this in the data protection space. Companies need to be transparent about how the data is processed. I'm very intrigued about the sentence. I'm still intrigued about it. Apple Intelligence is designed. Now, it just says designed. It does not say is, right? This is a very key word. Apple Intelligence is designed to deliver personal intelligence without Apple collecting your personal data. Now, what they're not saying is that Apple Intelligence does deliver personal intelligence without collecting your personal data. It's saying it's designed, which makes me feel like there possibly is personal data, but it's minimal. Now, I can't be sure because I didn't draft this sentence, but it's very clever. And you can tell that there is a very great privacy counsel that drafted this sentence because it's open to interpretation, which gives Apple leeway in the event that the Apple Intelligence is a feature that is offered on new products. Okay, so I really enjoyed reviewing this notice. I think it's a very good notice. I think it addresses the audience, the consumers of Apple products. I think that it's been cleverly written to give Apple leeway for the development of their products and services, which a lot of companies are looking to, continually build and optimize the products and offerings that they have. I think that the tone is very good for consumers to be able to understand what's actually going on with their personal data. And I love that they've mentioned and utilized some of the privacy wording, because it's really important for them to meet their obligations under data protection laws and then AI laws too. So I really hope you enjoyed this review. If you would like help with drafting a notice related to your use of artificial intelligence, take a look at my description below, and I will see you in another review.